we will thank you and we will get started. So the time is now 6:06 p.m. on Tuesday, April 13th, 2021. And I will officially call this meeting of the Leominster Conservation Commission to order. Just a reminder, as always, that this is being done remotely, but even so, everything is still being recorded and will become part of public record. That includes both anything that's said and the chat. Commissioners, we will keep our cameras on for the whole time. If you are a representative or a member of the public who would like to speak, you do not have to turn a camera on when you speak. If you would like to, you are more than welcome to. So Angela, if we could please just go ahead with the roll call.
Sure. This is Angela Chbosky, the conservation agent for the city of Leominster. And we'll start with the roll call. Amanda Lansing, chairwoman.
Present.
Elizabeth Ricci Blair, vice chair.
Here.
Chuck Raymond.
Here.
And Jeffrey Goyne.
Here.
So all members are accounted for.
This is Amanda again. Wonderful, thank you. First item up on the agenda is conservation land management. Does not look like we have anything to discuss tonight on that front, Angela.
Correct.
Okay, perfect. So we will move on. We do have one continued hearing from last meeting. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Mass Wetlands Protection Act, the Leominster Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on an amended order of conditions filed for the addition to the existing Baker Cadillac. Changes include an increase in size of the addition. Address is 495 Main Street, map and parcels 266-1, 266-6, and 266-7, and DEP file number 191111. And do we have someone representing that project tonight?
Good evening, Bill Hannigan from Hannigan Engineering.
Hi, Bill. How are you?
Well, thanks. At the last meeting, we made the presentation for the amendment, and we also added some information regarding a roof drain system and some chambers to provide some infiltration for the roof drain. At the meeting, it seemed like everybody was on board with everything, and what we wanted to do was put the plan package together so that there was a plan set that the commission was approving. So that's now been accomplished. That information was sent over to Angela. I regret that it took a little bit longer than I expected to get it over to her, even though we had done it back in March, but I didn't get it over to her till today. So, but essentially the plan changes we talked about at the last meeting are incorporated into the March 22nd, 2021 plan set, and that would be the plan set that we would be utilizing for the amended order as well as for the construction of the project. I can bring it up if you guys want to see it, but I think Angela has a copy. Do you want me to bring it up, Angela?
Sure, hold on, let me give you control. Hold on one moment. All right, Bill, you should have control now.
Okay, let me just. All right, so this is the plan set that is now the official set for construction. Existing conditions and on the site plan.
To enter, no digit. Please re-enter your access code, pound or hash.
I guess RG needs to mute.
To enable audio control, please enter your audio PIN followed by the pound or hash sign. If you do not have a PIN, just press pound or hash. This conference will now be recorded.
Or Angela, do you have the ability to do that?
I'm trying to. Sorry, hold on one moment. Let me see. All right, I should have muted everyone except for you and Bill. There we go.
Great, thank you. Sorry, Bill, go ahead.
Nope, that's fine. So the amendment included the addition of this drive-through bay area or presenting area and the relocation of this parking a little bit further to the south. What was not on the plan that we had submitted for the amendment was the roof drain system, which we had added into this area here. That was shown in red on a plan that we presented at the last meeting. We've now incorporated that change into the plan set, and plan set is the plan set that will be utilized for the project. And this is the plan set we'd like to be referenced in the amended order of conditions.
Great, thank you. Let's see. Do any of our commissioners have any questions or concerns that they'd like to bring up? Anything they need clarified from the last meeting? Okay. Hearing none. I took a look at this. I feel comfortable with it because, as you said, we did go through the changes in the last meeting, and they were shown. They just weren't yet incorporated into the plan set that we would be officially part of the amended order. So I have no issues with voting on this tonight. Angela, did you have anything that you would like to add before I call for a vote?
Hi, Angela here. Nope, I would just recommend that the commission vote to approve the amendment for the DEP file number 1991111.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, in that case, if there's no other questions or concerns from our commissioners, do I have a motion to issue an amended order of conditions for this project?
This is Liz. I'll make a motion to issue, to so move.
Great, thank you. Do I have a second?
This is Jeffrey Goyen, and I'll second.
Thank you.
This is Angela Chwesky, and the rest of the vote will be done by roll call. Chuck Raymond, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. And Chairwoman Amanda Lansing, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
All right, so the motion carries to issue an amended order of conditions for 495 Main Street, DEP file number 1991111.
Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Bill. All right, so we will move on to our new hearings for this evening. First up, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Mass Wetland Protection Act, the Leominster Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on a notice of intent filed for the installation of a pool, expansion of a deck, construction of multiple patio areas, and installing an outdoor kitchen barbecue area, as well as some landscaping. Address is 56 Weathervane Drive, map 549, parcel 87. DEP file 1991124. Do we have someone on the line representing this project?
That would be me. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the commission. For the record, my name is Brian Mellissi with Whitman & Bingham Associates. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, good. I'm used to the Zoom. First time would go to meetings, so if I do something stupid, just yell at me, please.
No worries.
So we're here representing Brandon and Chelsea Bro. I think Brandon is on the call with me somewhere in the audience. There he is. Just a point of order, Madam Chair. We do have the green cards for a butter notification. We can get those over to Angela if she needs the originals for the file. But the butters were notified. We do have those.
Perfect. Thank you.
Also, we checked the DEP website. We do have a DEP file number for the project without any comments. I was kind of told by some of the guys here in the office that don't bother putting anything on the screen because it was all kind of controlled by the commission, so I apologize. I do not have a copy of the site plan ready to go. I don't know if Angela has something that she can throw up on the screen.
Yep, that's okay. Angela, do we have a copy of the plan that we could bring up?
Yep, I'm working on it right now. Give me one moment.
Great, thank you.
So while she's doing that, I will, the project is located at 56 Weathervane Drive, an existing single-family dwelling. We're here in front of you guys to ask for a order of conditions to do a backyard project, which includes a pool, a couple of decks, some horseshoe pits, some landscaping, some retaining walls. We should point out that the original home was built in 1987, so it does predate the riverfront bill of the Rivers Protection Act. And when the drawing does come up, you'll see that the entire lot sits within the 200-foot outer riparian zone. In a majority of the work, it's on the last page, I think. The majority of the work is within the inner riparian zone. So there's a copy of the plan there. So you'll see the existing house is dashed, is hatched. All the work is kind of going on in the backyard. You'll see that the line that kind of runs through the middle or bisects the middle of the property is really the 100-foot inner riparian zone. And then there's the 100-foot buffer zone associated with the BVW out there. If you were to take a walk out into the site today, the plan does show an existing chain link fence or an existing fence out there. All the area where the proposed work is already, I won't say it's degraded, but it's all lawn. We don't have to cut any trees down. It's just a large open grass backyard. And again, Brandon is going to put in a pool with a deck, a couple of patios, and some extensive landscaping. I don't know if any of you guys know Brandon. He's a local landscape architect. He's got a pretty good keen eye for landscaping. And so if there's any questions about the types of plants that he's using, we're going to throw those right at him, because he put me to shame on that. But in a nutshell, Madam Chair, that's the project. Again, we did receive a file number from DEP. I can go over some of the particulars in the NOI if you'd like, but I think it may be brought back to you for any questions.
Okay, great, thank you. Commissioners, anybody have any specific questions at the moment that they would like to bring up?
This is Jeffrey going. I would say backside of that horseshoe pit, is the horseshoe pit going to be sand, or are we talking some kind of dirt? And if so, will there be any kind of, not necessarily a retaining system, but any way to keep that from, washing through the chain link fence in like a big storm of?
Brian, I'd be happy to speak to that. We will be just using a typical mason sand within a dug pit. Typically, we frame that with a pressure treated lumber, basically just as a frame to keep the sand within the extents of the pit itself. Hope that helps.
All right, thank you.
Madam Chairwoman, this is Chuck Raymond, if I may.
Yes, please go ahead.
Angela, have you received any kind of a planting plan for this? What kind of plants they're going to use?
I have not.
I'd be happy to speak to that a little bit if you don't mind, Chuck.
Please.
Basically, the planting scheme that I plan to use here is a lot of perennial-based plantings, a lot of native plantings like hollies, rhododendrons, mountain laurels, things of that nature. Some spruce trees and whatnot on the upper half closer to the house. But short of that, it's really just perennial plantings, things that make the yard pop, but nothing invasive by any means, but very native to the area.
Okay, Angela, do we need a planting plan, or is what he just informed us of sufficient?
The commission should get a list of what plants will be used, just to confirm that no invasive species are being used, just because of the delicacy of the riparian zone and how important the vegetated area is in the first 100 feet of the riverfront area. So that's something we can condition, that before work can start, that needs to be submitted.
And also, I having a tough time reading the plan. Do I don't see, maybe excuse me, I'm having some time reading it. I don't see, are you, what are you using for the edge of construction? Is it straw wattle? Is it, I don't see that in here. Am I missing something?
Yeah, it's not on the plan, but we will be using straw wattle. At a very minimum, we'll be running across the whole length of the fence there and around the left side of the property.
Okay. And did you say the chain link fence is staying?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Okay.
It's not moving, staying right where it is.
Okay.
If I may add, the heavy dashed line to the inside of the existing chain link fence is labeled as the proposed erosion control area. Yeah.
Oh, it is. Oh, I thought that was the fence. Okay. Oh, all right.
There we go.
We just wanted to show it inside the fence, just for ease of later on when they go to remove it after the project's done.
Okay. So you looks like the plants around the pool are going right up against that straw wattle. Angela, are you okay with that?
That was actually one of my questions was, you know, how close are the plants actually going to be to the fence? How close is the actual work going to be there? Do we need to put the straw wattle on the other side of the fence? Just because of that, looking at the plan, that's what it looks like.
Yeah, we can certainly put the wattle on the outside of the fence if that works in better favor. That's easy enough to switch it from one side to the other for sure.
Yeah, gotta be better. Okay, that's it. I'm done. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Chuck. So I did have a question. So the existing backyard is all just like landscaped grass, I assume, right? Is what was said. It's just a landscaped yard. So two questions are, one, I would assume to do the work you're doing, it's relatively flat, but I see, you know, we're putting in retaining walls. So just curious, like kind of what the slope is and then what the ground looks like on the other side of that chain link fence. So if the yard is, you know, landscaped grass, just looking to see like what is between that and the edge of the wetland.
Yes, so the yard is basically split into two tiers. The lower half where the pool is all grass at this point, and there's probably about a 3.5 to 4 foot grade change from where the pool is proposed to the top area where the two terraces are pronounced. And then on the other side of that chain link fence, there's currently about a 5.5 foot wide, 6 foot wide swath of grass that goes up to the woodland edge. And we maintain that now. It's been maintained since I moved here a couple of years ago. But yeah, the very basic grade change, very flat on the bottom half. And very flat on the top towards the house. It's just a 2-tiered yard.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Angela here, if I may, Madam Chair.
Yes, please go ahead.
I just had a couple questions. I apologize. So I was just looking, I noticed that there wasn't a wetland report included with this, and there was no date on when the wetland replication was done. Do you have that information? I'm sorry, the wetland delineation, not replication, sorry.
This is it, right? I apologize, but I do not.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, Matt Morrow here. I actually delineated the wetland for Mr. Bro. I actually delineated that wetland back in the summer of 2019. It was July.
All right, this is Amanda. Mr. Morrow, did you delineate the wetland specifically for this project?
That is correct.
Okay. Yeah, so if it's information that you have, I think that's information that is really important for not only us to have, but for the homeowner to have, to show that the delineation that is being used for this project is current, right? Because if it was, you know, after 3 years, we would need to do that again. So I definitely think that is, in my opinion, that's information that we would definitely want to have included with this application.
Yeah, I have a report on file. I can submit that. That's not a problem.
So if you could send that to Angela, that would be great, just so that we can ensure that, you know, because when if we approve this project, we're approving that wetland line as is. And so it's important that we have the updated information so that we know that we're voting on a line that has been done somewhat recently.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I have a report on file. I can send that right in when I get to my other computer in the morning. Not a problem.
I would appreciate that. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Angela here again, and just one other question. I do notice that there is floodplain on this site. I just wasn't sure, what was the elevation for the floodplain, and were the elevations on site shot, or were they taken just off the GIS?
I think I can maybe speak to that. I know that Whitman and Bingham did come out and shoot extensive elevations throughout the entire property to basically represent this plan as it is today.
Thank you. Brian, are you able to, do you know when, because I just don't see, maybe I'm missing on the plan. I just don't see when the plan was shot. I don't see it dated on here. And I just wanted to know where the elevation is for the floodplain.
Yeah, so you can see it now that you've scrolled. I apologize. I think I was muted when I was. We do show the 100-year floodplain elevation right there. It's just a little bit above that 430 elevation. And so we did shoot it when we went out to do the existing conditions for the project, and I'd have to get that date to you. I apologize. But the floodplain is located off Locust.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure, because when I pulled it up on my map, it kind of showed it going over the yard a little. So I just wanted to confirm.
I had the same question. Right, one of our engineers, Wes, kind of put this plan together, and he apologizes, but he had another meeting. But when I was going through the information, I did the same thing. I called it up, and I had said, "Hey, geez, it looks like kind of located it on the property." But he assured me that we went out and shot it, and it is located off Locust.
Perfect, thank you. And then what was I just gonna look at? And then so I noticed, because it is riverfront area and that everything's within the 100-foot riparian zone, the regulations do ask that 100, we try to keep 100 feet vegetated to the streams or riparian zone. How much vegetation in between the work being done in the stream is going to remain?
It will be completely untouched the way it is right now. That wood line that is approximately 5 to 6 feet off of the back chain link fence is not being touched.
So the regulations do think of vegetated lawn as a form of vegetation. So I just wanted to know how much of it is going to remain, because that does still have important filtration qualities for the stream.
I'd probably have to do a takeoff to tell you that. I don't know the exact square footage, but I could get that for you.
So at its closest point, it's roughly about 60 feet away. We're about 40 feet or so into the inner riparian zone at its closest point.
Thank you, Brian. So about 60 feet away would be the 40. Sorry, it's really hard to hear you.
Yeah, I apologize, but obviously the BVW is a little closer than the stream itself, but to the banks of the stream at its closest point, it's about 60 feet to the fence.
60 feet to the fence. Thank you. And then what was I can't pull up the exact calculations. How much of the yard was previously disturbed? The 10%, the 5,000 square feet for the Riverfront Act?
So roughly There's 19,375 square feet of riverfront on the entire site. You know, we're included within the within our project area. We disturb it roughly 9,250. And however, we put that number in NOI to quantify it, but really the entire area back there is disturbed. It's all lawn area right up to the fence. So if you look at the NOI, we didn't really try to be cute, but when we asked, you know, how much is going to be disturbed, you know, we said 0, but we wanted to quantify it with some numbers there because since it was previously disturbed, you know, it's not new riverfront area. We didn't want to penalize Brandon and say that we don't meet that standard when we really think we do.
Thank you. And so basically, so all this lawn area that's, you know, has infiltration is it all going to be impervious or is it going to be permeable? Is there going to be sheet flow created from this?
No, I mean, obviously there's a little bit of a patio and some of the pool deck, but otherwise all the landscaped areas and everything around that is still going to be pervious. You know, the wall is there obviously to separate the pool area from some of the living area, if you will, up top, and so that it'll stop sheet flow. It'll gently flow back into that horseshoe pit area there and be able to recharge back into the ground exactly the way it's been doing now. You see, we tried to put a couple of percent lines on this, you know, roughly between, say, the deck area and the steps down to the pool. It's about a 4% area or a grade there. So it's a fairly gentle slope in the upper terrace, if you will. You know, it's all fairly flat in the lower terrace. So it wouldn't be causing any erosion or any issues into the river, into the stream.
Okay. Thank you so much. And then I'm sorry, I'm just having a hard time seeing on here. I have a note here asking is there a drain for the pool anywhere, overflow drain?
Brendan, you want to answer that?
I just want to make sure that none of the chlorine water or salt water gets into the wetland.
Yeah, as far as I know, what that's going to be comprised of is the backwash system of the pool will be, you know, kind of, I guess, distorted away from the pool. You know, with the area that's behind the existing shed, basically within the proposed horseshoe pit area, is pretty much considered the low spot of my yard. And we can grade that in a way that any kind of backflow that we need to do with the pool can stay within that area.
Okay, perfect. I'm not an engineer, so would those grades be drastic enough that we need to show them on the plans, Brian?
Yeah, we can add that. We can add a little bit of a dimple. I know I'm pointing at it on my screen. You probably can't see it. But, over by where the pool equipment is, you know, where you would be backwashing from, we can provide a little sump pit or a little dimple over there. We can add that to the plan.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for being patient with my million questions.
No, that's okay.
Okay, this is Amanda again. Any of our commissioners have any additional questions, concern, discussion? Okay. I do want to just open this up to public comment. If there's anybody on the call who does wish to speak on this project or has a question, please feel free. Just state your name and address for the record. Second time? Third and final time. Okay. So based on the fact that I personally don't have any particular issues with this project. Personally, I wish my backyard was going to look like this. But given that we are just sort of missing a little bit of information, I would prefer, if it's acceptable to the applicant, to continue this to the next hearing before we vote on it, just so that we can ensure that we've got just that little bit of an update on the plan that Angela requested, and that we can obtain a copy of the wetland report, so that when we vote on everything, we're making sure that we have all of the information that we really need. So if those couple of things could be gotten over to Angela before our next meeting, which is on the 27th of April, if that seems okay, and then we can vote on it there. Like I said, I don't have any particular issues with the project. I just don't like to call for a vote if we don't have the full package of everything that we'd like to have together. So if we, yeah, and I think the other thing that Angela had mentioned is if it's possible to get a date just for when the grades were shot, that would be great information to have as well.
Madam Chairwoman, this is Chuck Rand. May I?
Yes, go ahead, Chuck.
And also, just thank you. If I could just request, along with that information, just to make sure you provide us with the the planting plan, the list of plants that you're proposing to put in, that'd be good. Thank you.
I'll get that over by the end of the week.
And we will we'll get the other information over. So do you need me to ask for continuance? Do you guys vote on that? Either way, we would
no,
like to continue.
If we're all agreeable to that, I will just go ahead and say that we're going to continue this to the Tuesday, April 27th meeting, just so we can get all of the info shored up, and we can vote on it then.
Okay. And Angela, if anything else comes up, if you think of anything else, let us know, so we can get everything wrapped up for that meeting. Appreciate your time.
Yes, thank you guys so much. We appreciate it.
Okay. Have a good night.
All right, thank you. Angela, can you scroll? Oh, actually, it might just be because I'm zoomed in. Okay, there we go. I'm good. I had zoomed in to see the plan, so I just couldn't see the agenda. Next new hearing on our agenda tonight, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Mass Wetlands Protection Act, the Leominster Conservation Commission will hold a public meeting on a notice of intent for the construction of a single-family home and associated subsurface sewage disposal system and driveway. Address is Hillary Road, map 413, parcel 7A. Do we have someone on the call representing that project tonight?
Yes, ma'am. Chris Anderson with Hanning Engineering.
Hi, Chris. How are you?
Pretty good. Yourself?
Good, thanks. If you just want to go ahead and we can maybe pull up a map and you can just sort of take us through the project, that would be great.
Sure. Angela, do you happen to have a PDF of the? Oh, never mind.
I just made you presenter, Chris. Other meetings ended early?
So can everybody see my screen?
Yes, Chris, we can see it.
Okay, good. Just for the record, Chris Anderson with Hannigan Engineering here on behalf of Diane Peralta for the construction of a single-family home off of Hillary Road. This project was originally approved by an existing order of conditions in September of 2019. Since that time, the property has changed hands, and the current property owner is requesting to construct a slightly different house than was originally approved. This project was brought for an amendment to the original order back in January of this year, but was denied by the commission as it was deemed too substantial of a change to be performed under amendment. As such, we're currently before the commission for a new notice of intent filing for the project as presented. Just to re-familiarize ourselves with this, it's located on the southerly side of Hillary Road. The property is currently woodland with a bordering vegetated wetland that runs along the northerly property line that's associated with an intermittent stream channel. It's the intent of the applicant to construct a single-family home with a paved driveway and septic system, along with connections to the municipal water system within Hillary Road. Access to the driveway will be provided along the northerly property line and will be generally pitched towards a small rain garden that will be located on the lower portion of the site to capture the runoff from the property. The erosion control has remained unchanged since the original approval of 2019. We'll utilize straw wattle and silt fence along the limit of work for the project. And that's pretty much the general gist of the project. If there's any questions by the commission, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
This is Amanda again. Great, thank you, Chris. Does anybody have any questions? I know I do remember us asking for a new notice of intent for this, so thank you for doing that. Do we have any additional questions or concerns about the new changes here?
Madam Chairman, this is Chuck Raymond. No, I met with Chris and a couple of people out at the site on Saturday morning. Kind of walked us through it. I had all my questions answered then.
Okay, great. Jeff or Liz, do you guys have any additional questions?
Amanda, I was out on that site walk as well with Chuck, so I echo his, any question we did have was answered then.
Okay, perfect. So there's no concerns or anything based on what you saw, what you talked about?
This shit on the house. They're having a meeting tonight.
Okay.
Nobody's there. They're just talking about you.
Okay. Angela, could we go ahead and try to mute everybody?
Yeah, I'm trying to. Sometimes it's hard when it's the people calling in. Bear with me.
No, I totally understand.
It's hard because once I mute them, they can't unmute themselves. So I have to be very careful.
I see. Okay. All right. Well, we will forge ahead. I do not have any particular questions or concerns either, especially if two of our commissioners were out on the site and don't have any concerns. So I will just turn it over to you, Angela, before I open it up to the public, just in case there's anything additional that you have a question about or would like to bring up.
Nope, I've spoken with Chris extensively about this project, as well as I was at the site visit on Saturday, and I've met with several people, including DBW, as well as the health department of this project. So I feel comfortable opening it up to the public.
Wonderful, thank you. So that's what I'll do. I'll go ahead and open this up to public comment. So if there's anybody on the call that wishes to speak on this or has a question, please feel free. Just state your name and address for the record. Second time. Third and final time. Okay, hearing no questions or concerns from the public, I will go ahead and close that public comment period and see if our agent has any suggestions for us or recommendations.
This is Angela here. Hold on one moment. Let me pull up my recommendations here. So I would recommend that the commission approve the project and issue an order of conditions to the new DEP file number 1991126. Yep, 991126 with our typical boilerplate of special conditions, as well as the following special conditions. The conservation agent will be notified 48 hours before work begins to inspect the erosion controls before construction. A pre-construction meeting will be scheduled with the conservation agent and the contractor before erosion controls are placed or after they are placed at the erosion control inspection. As per the old order, if there's any changes to the retaining wall plans, they will be submitted to the conservation office prior to construction. A sequencing plan for the to ensure that the retaining walls will be done in the beginning of construction will be submitted, as well as the order will not be issued officially until the certificate of compliance for the prior DEP file number 1991090 has been approved and issued. Once that's done, the agent will issue the new order. And that's all.
Great, this is Amanda again.
Speak to this,
Thank
Madam
you.
Chair. This is Bill Hannigan. Just a point of order.
Sure, Bill.
Yeah. I would prefer that the order of conditions get issued for the project with a condition that we file a request for certificate of compliance to the old order prior to the commencement of construction. That way nothing goes stale on the permitting process.
Great, this is Amanda. Angela, how do we feel about that? Is there anything that prohibits us from doing that? Given that there's an open order on this site?
So in my experience, in my discussions with DEP and the trains I've been to, it's not advisable to issue a second order of conditions to a property until the former one has been closed out. When I spoke to Chris the other day, we had discussed that we would hold it until the certificate of compliance had been issued, and then this one would be issued the next, the same day, basically, as the certificate of compliance. That's why I'd add that condition.
And I do understand that, Angela and Madam Chair. The issue that I have is that then you have an appeal period that we're subject to. And if the appeal period, if the product gets appealed as it's currently stated or on the plans, then we have to start completely over with the project, should that be upheld. So I would prefer a condition of approval that states that prior to construction, the existing order of conditions must be closed out. It accomplishes the same thing without the landowner or the buyer running the risk of an appeal. Because right now we have a valid order of conditions, and giving up that is something that I don't recommend. So I understand where Angela's coming from relative to, you don't typically have two orders open on a project, but in this particular case where you're transferring the permitting realm from one order of conditions to another, I think it makes sense to keep the existing order in place, issue the new order, allow the appeal period to lapse, and then from there we would issue a request for certificate of compliance to close out the old order before construction starts. And that is, if that's a condition within the new order, the work can't start until we've effectively done that work. So that's part of the reason why I would suggest it be done that way.
This is Amanda again. Jeff or Liz or Chuck, do you guys have any thoughts or preferences on this?
My only thought is that it might make a little. Back up a little bit. I'm fine with it as long as Angela thinks it's not going to create any undue added burden on her part. I hate to make her job any more difficult, but it sounds logical to me.
Yeah, the last thing I want to do is give Angela more work, so that's absolutely not my intent on this. I appreciate that, Chuck.
Anybody else? Okay. Yeah, so my feelings are typically very in line with what Angela had suggested. I think this is a little bit different because the order of conditions that is existing is for work that has not been done. So, you know, typically if we have at least my experience so far, you know, has been when we run into a situation like this, it's when we have an open order for work that needs to be done or has to be completed before we will allow a new order of conditions. This is a little bit, I think, is a little bit different because the old order just isn't. Nothing has been done on the property. I would so let me ask. When is the hopeful start of getting this project going?
I imagine that they're probably trying to get it going this, you know, spring, summertime is when it would be to do it. The reality of it is, though, is that we'd have to wait for the appeal period to be done. And now with this added condition, we would have to wait till the order, the existing order was closed out. So your next, you know, if this gets issued in the next 4 or 5 days, we have 10 business days for the appeal. That might bring us to the end of April, beginning of May. We come to your next meeting. Presumably we get past the appeal period, we come to your next meeting in May. We get that lifted. Then from there, we start construction late May, early June. That would be it. And that's, I'm saying that, I'm not saying that that's their schedule. I'm saying that that would be the schedule that we would be allowed to have based upon this procedure.
Okay. Yeah, so so my preference would be that we not simply condition that the COC be issued before construction, so that we can get this nice and shored up and it does not fall through the cracks. My preference would be that if this is issued, that the condition is that COC is
recorded at the registry.
Sorry. Well, no, not just that. I'm sorry. I'm like fumbling over my words tonight. Would be that we receive that COC, you know, at that, say, first meeting in May. So that first meeting after the appeal period is over, because it should be a very simple one to put together, given that nothing was ever done for the property. Correct. So I would prefer to do that rather than saying just before construction, and then construction doesn't happen until August. And
I understand what you're saying. Yep, I agree 100%.
So so that would be my particular preference. Do any of the other commissioners have a objection to that, agree with that, have any comments on that?
Madam Chair, this is the agent here. I just got an email that some people have been trying to speak up during the public comment period, but they were unable to because I had muted everyone. So I just unmuted everyone. I don't know if you would mind taking a moment just to let them speak.
Okay, do we have someone who wishes to speak on this project?
Yes, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, if
Hello?
you could please, yep, could you please just state your name and address for the record before you comment?
I certainly will. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the commission. My name is Peter Angelini. I reside at 783 West Street in Leominster. And bear with me, I'm I'm looking at an 8.5 by 11 copy of this plan. There's an awful lot going on. Let me begin by saying, if I may, I'm not a butter to the project, but the Minusnack Brook runs through my property, and there is a hydrologic connection between the storm drains on Hillary Road in front of this proposed project and the Minusnack Brook. I understand it's outside the commission's jurisdiction, unfortunately, until something that violates the act occurs. And unfortunately, it's been our experience here over the last 34 years that that's happened on numerous occasions. So rather than getting into every little aspect of this, I was delighted, actually. One of the things I was going to ask the commission to consider was a construction sequence schedule to ensure that adequate remediation was in place during critical site transitions. This site will be extremely difficult once the vegetation has been stripped during site work. Be very, very difficult to keep this site from literally going down the drain, as they say. So I was heartened to hear that the commission, I believe, is choosing to adopt something very similar to be able to monitor this in phases. I did notice one of the changes from the last plan was increasing the depth of the rain garden. It's located close to Hillary Road. I am a proponent of rain gardens and have been for quite some time. I am, however, a bit concerned about the size of this rain garden. I had a tremendous amount of sheet flow. I know that I heard some of the commissioners participated in the site walk this past weekend. And I'll quickly note the elevation change in the rear of the lot from 170 down to 150. So you have a significant transition there. I've spent an awful lot of time in this neighborhood over the years. And the hydrologic condition that I referenced from those Hillary Road to West Street has been an ongoing issue. The DPW's been acutely aware of it and has tried for years to remediate that issue. But unfortunately, what happens is there's so much flow coming through, both sheet flow and flow from the other catch basins, that you get refusal there at those two catch basins on West Street during what I would call not even a 10-year storm event, just a traditional thunderstorm. So, and again, I know the commission's jurisdiction doesn't extend off the site under the current situation, but I would be extremely grateful if the commission would consider keeping a close eye on it and working with whoever the site contractor is over there to make sure that the bell drain and those storm drains are indeed protected from introduction of silt and sediment during storm events. So with that, I think I'll wrap it up, and I thank the commission for its time this evening, and have a good night.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for your comments. We appreciate that. Okay. Do we have anybody else on the call that wishes to speak on this? I apologize with the muting if you've been having some issues. Okay, doesn't sound like we have anybody else right now. So one question that I have in regards to the COC, and this is for Bill or for Chris, is there anything prohibiting just getting the certificate of compliance in for the existing order just for the next meeting? I mean, is there any reason that we need to wait for the appeal period for this order to be done? Because my thinking is that if we can just get the COC in for the other one, get it closed out. That way, when this appeal period is over, you guys are just done and good to go. Because I wouldn't want something to happen where somehow this is appealed and now we've got 2 open orders and, you know, we get ourselves into a little bit more of a pickle,
Right.
if that
So,
makes sense.
well, that's exactly what I'm trying to avoid. So, for example, this order that you're looking at issuing tonight on this project doesn't become in full force in effect until the appeal period is up.
Right.
So,
no, I understand that.
So in other words, if it does get appealed at that point in time, the old order is still in effect, but the new order is not in effect because there's a pending appeal. So you don't have 2 orders open at that point in time. So the intent would be that, and the answer is yes, we can get the paperwork over to you. That's not an issue. We just would not want the COC documents put on the agenda until the appeal period is up. Or if it is appealed, that the appeal period, the process is done with DEP. My extreme concern on this is giving up what the landowner already has in place for the project. I don't think we're going to run into. I honestly don't think that we're going to. I mean, I know Peter Angelini. I respect his position, and I respect the fact that he wants to protect this, and I think that this plan and working with the commission and the DPW and everybody, we're going to do exactly that. And I think that, you know, if there's not a better watchdog in the community than Peter Angelini on this one. So I'm sure that we'll be held to that task. But the fact of the matter is, right now we have an order of conditions that's valid for the project, and this is changing it. So I would rather have the existing order remain in place until the appeal period on this order is up, and then have the commission act on the certificate of compliance on the old order, which basically is going to be, it's a certificate of compliance issued because the work was never started. So that's the most simple of order of conditions certificates that you'll be issuing.
Okay, so I guess my question, so I do kind of see where you're coming from, but I feel like it sort of puts the commission in an interesting position because we're leaving an order open that is not, from the discussions we've had, my understanding was that that project was not going to be done, and that was the reason for submitting a completely new notice of intent. And I recognize that there are a lot of things that have not changed, but there also are a lot of things that have. So what would be the purpose of leaving leaving that old order open? I'm not really sure that I feel comfortable with leaving it open just in case this one doesn't go through. Like, I'm not sure how the rest of the commission feels, but I'm not sure that I feel comfortable doing that because we're voting on a new project for this with the understanding that the old project is no longer going to be completed.
I understand 100%, and I think that I am putting the commission in a little bit of a pickle on this, because I know I don't disagree with you that typically when you run into problems with certificates of compliance that are not closed out properly, usually it's well after the construction has done. For example, we just did this over on Francis Street, where we had a project that we were proposing some work, okay, and we found out that there was an old order from I think it was from the 80s or 90s that had never been closed out. And so as we worked with the commission and DEP to ensure that happened in that manner. The difference is that right now we have a landowner that has a permit and a landowner that wants to build a different house than what was shown on the permit. Okay, that's really the only difference that we're talking about on the project. that the house changed. The commission has asked us to file a new notice of intent because of the house change was deemed more substantial than the original house. We've done that. We think that we've added some improvements to the original plan, which I think are beneficial. And it's an abundance of caution that I'm talking about relative to me protecting my clients' interests with respect to the permitting process. So that's the only reason why I'm doing it. I would really appreciate I think that we've done enough work in the city with the commission to know that we're gonna follow through with what we're talking about. And I think that it makes sense to do it in this particular case. I think that there are many cases it may not make sense. But I think in this particular case, it makes sense. We're talking about 30 days worth of time between, now and the next meeting in May. And if the order gets issued this week, then we should be done the appeal period. We should be back in front of the commission, asking them to release the old order, and then we record the certificate of compliance for the old order and the new order all at the same time. That's the only thing I'm trying to do is protect my client's interests. That's it.
Yeah, and I do completely understand that. And I guess what I'm trying to figure out, and maybe I didn't state it correctly, but really my question is, so I understand that there's an existing permit, right? So if something were to happen, and I don't see this happening, but if for some reason what's in front of us right now gets appealed, right? There is an existing permit for the project, but that permit really doesn't help, right? Unless the landowner is willing to build the house the way it was originally proposed.
Correct. But it gives them the option.
That is kind of, that is kind of my concern, is that we're now kind of saying, instead of the commission being able to vote on one project at a time, we're being put in the position of saying, okay, well, for this one, we're going to allow these two options to float together for a little while, until this other thing is accomplished. And I'm not trying to make your life harder. I'm not trying to make the landowner's life harder. I'm trying to make sure, just from the standpoint of the regulations and what we are legally allowed to do, that we're not putting ourselves in a difficult position either. And that's the answer that I just don't know. I just don't know that I feel comfortable having two permits open simply because we want the options. Like, that's not really something that we typically do.
Well, it's not that I want the option, I want the protection. The intent of the applicant is to build this house on the lot using this plan. Okay. And there's no changes that are being proposed above and beyond this plan. Personally, I think that this should have or could have been handled with an amendment to the existing order, and I think it would have been a lot more straightforward. We're past that now. We're at the point of going to the point of filing a new order. So with respect to being able to, my preference would be to have the condition in the new order that the old order get closed out before we start construction. I've taken up a lot of time, and I know you have other matters to handle tonight. The clients on the line, they're listening to what I'm trying to do. It's a risk. If the commission does not feel comfortable doing that, and what I don't want to do is to vote no because I'm asking for that condition. Okay, so I think what I'll do is I'll leave it to the commission and the agent to do it the way that they feel that they can do it, and we'll just have to see how the chips fall.
Madam Chairman, this is Chuck Raymond. May I ask a question?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Hi, I don't want to belabor the point here or make this any longer than it already is. But Bill, once we voted, however, a few weeks ago, however long it was, to not do an amended order, but to have you seek a new order. Could the old order conditions have been closed out before we even got to this point?
It could have been, but I wouldn't do that. In other words, having a permit in your hands is valuable.
Okay.
So, and it doesn't, you voting to not accept the amendment doesn't void the old order either. Okay, it just means that change was not acceptable with the commission, and I respect that. That's totally fine. So we've done what the commission had asked us to do, and filed the new plan. What I'm trying to do is protect clients' existing permit, because you never know if someone's going to appeal. None of us can sit in this room, this virtual room, and say that there's no chance of someone appealing this. So to protect my client's interests, I would respectfully request that the condition be put in there that, and I think that it makes sense that the client has looked at this piece of land and said, I'd rather build this house on this piece of land. If push came to shove and they had to build the other house, could they? Absolutely. They would be allowed to move forward with that other plan. But if we take it off the table and then this one gets appealed and we're held up in DEP, and I don't see why it would get appealed, quite frankly, but once again, you never know. If it got held up in DEP for 6 or 8 months, now we're dealing with 6 or 8 months of delay for them to get into their home. So it's an unusual request on my part, okay, and I get it and I understand it, but I think in this particular case, having the ability to pivot and go to the old plan if this one gets appealed is something I need to protect my client's interest on. So with that, I would respectfully request that condition be put in there to, and it's just a matter of timing. You know, we can prepare the document, we can send everything over to you, okay, and we can get everything in your hands so you know we're really going to do it. And then from there, when this appeal period is done, we close out the old order at the next meeting and we record the new order at the registry of deed along with the certificate of compliance closing out the old one. It's just procedural. That's all it really is at this point. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Bill. Chuck, did that kind of answer your questions? Do you have anything else to add?
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, so in this particular instance, I'm just going to state this for the record that this is not something that moving forward is going to be, you know, something that we procedurally often do. I still feel a little bit uncomfortable, but I do understand, and it is a bit different because nothing has been done on the site. So for my own opinion is just, you know, I think if the rest of the commission is comfortable with it, we can make the exception this time around because it is a bit of a different situation. It's just not something that I would probably do very often. So what I would like to do is call for a vote for an order of conditions for the project that's in front of us, with all of these special conditions that our agent previously stated, and the added condition that we get the certificate of compliance for the old order prior to the May 11th Conservation Commission meeting, so that we can be sure that the second that this order is valid, we are closing out the old one. So do I have a motion for that or for something else?
This is Chuck Raymond. I'll make that motion that we, with the added condition that we get the certificate of compliance for the existing order prior to the May 11th commission meeting. So I'll make that motion.
Great, thank you, Chuck. Do I have a second for that one?
This is Jeffrey Coyne, and I'll second.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
This is Angela Chebesky, so the rest of the vote will be done by roll call. Vice Chair Elizabeth Ricci Blair, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. And Chairwoman Amanda Lansing, how do you vote?
I will vote aye.
Right, so the motion carries to issue an order of conditions for Hillary Road, Lot 0, DEP file number 1991126, with the boilerplates and the special conditions discussed at this meeting.
Thank you very much for your understanding.
No, thank you for your patience and working through our concerns as well. I appreciate that.
Good. Thank you for your patience.
All right, moving on. We have one more new hearing this evening.
Just trying to share my screen again. Bear with me. All right. Can you all see that?
Yes. We're on C, right?
Correct.
Okay. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Mass Wetland Protection Act, the Leominster Conservation Commission will hold a public meeting on a request for determination of applicability filed for the installation of an addition and deck to a single-family home. Address is 479 Lindell Ave, map 265, parcel 7. Do we have someone on the line representing this project?
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the commission. This is Matt Morrow. I am representing John and Kara Riley for the request for determination. I see James Riley is present. So, Angela, did you want me to share my screen?
That would be wonderful. I'm having some technical difficulties, so I'll make you presenter.
Oh, not
Hold
a
on.
problem. Yeah, technical difficulties abound. I hear you.
There you are, Matt Morrow.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody, I'm assuming can see that screen. So what we have is a request for determination for a proposed addition to a single-family home within the 100-foot buffer zone. The addition is a 20 by 30 room addition to a single-family home. You can see where my cursor is pointing. This area is actually already altered. This area is grass. There are no proposed vegetation as, trees, shrubs, or anything like that that would be removed. The closest point to the wetland that this addition would come is about 50 feet to the edge of the actual wetland, which would be the pond. And there's a very small BVW that's right off the edge of the pond that essentially parallels the pond shoreline. There is floodplain, and please forgive the drawing, but I tried several different browsers and 3 different computers, but I could not get that overlay to match up like it should when it printed versus when it shows on the screen. But the 100-year floodplain limits are essentially where I have the actual limits are the dashed blue lines that I drew in, which is supposed to represent the hash marks for the overlay. So you can see the project actually does not go within the floodplain at all. There is also a proposed deck addition. The deck addition would be at its closest point to the edge of wet, approximately 37 feet to the edge of wet. That's on the conservative side. It's probably more like 40, but I gave it a few extra feet just to be on the conservative side. The single family addition would not have a foundation. It would be put up on basically posts, which are piers. Typical construction technique is the piers would have a base that would be in the ground under subsurface on top of a compacted gravel area. Those are usually quick and easy to install, so you wouldn't have any exposed ground for any lengths of period. And of course, the deck addition is put on posts as well. And that's basically it. It's actually a pretty simple proposal.
Great, thank you, Matt. Anybody have a question?
Yes, I do.
Yes, go ahead.
Underneath the actual home addition, is it all concrete underneath, or?
No, it would be left as open space. The most they would do is they might put like a wooden enclosure around it, but there would be no concrete foundation. It would be on piers, basically.
Okay, so completely on, all right, I see. Thank you.
Yeah, if it was going to be a foundation, I would have filed a notice of intent for that.
Okay, Madam Chairman, may I?
Yes, please go ahead, Chuck.
Yeah, good. Matt, thanks for clarification. I was under the impression I stopped here on the way back from the sidewalk at Hillary Road, right down the street. And yeah, no, I was under the impression it was going to be the typical, at grade room addition. But you're saying that both the deck and that addition are going to be on piers, and they will not be cement underneath.
That is correct.
Okay, just to make sure it's on the record. Okay, good, wonderful, thank you.
This is Amanda again. Anything else, Jeffrey? Do you have anything to ask or add?
No, I don't have any additional questions.
Perfect. I don't think I have anything to add either. It seems like a pretty straightforward, very simple project. Angela, do you have anything that you'd like to add? And or a recommendation if there's nothing else?
Hi, this is Angela here. I do have a recommendation. I'd recommend that the commission issue a negative determination number 3, which is the work described in the request is within the buffer zone as defined in the regulations, but will not alter an area subject to protection under the Act. Therefore, said work does not require the filing of a notice of intent, subject to the following conditions. Erosion controls will be placed to prevent any erosion to water if needed. I don't believe that I wrote this condition up earlier when I thought there was going to be more of a foundation, and I don't think that's still necessary. So the only condition would be that the agent will be notified when work begins and is finished. I apologize.
How much of a lead time would you like, Angela?
24 hours is fine.
Okay.
Just so I know when it's going on. So if anyone calls and complains, I know what's happening. I don't go over there and start harassing the Rileys for no reason.
Sure. No, totally understood.
Do I have a motion to issue a -3 determination for 479 Lindell Avenue with the just added condition that the agent stated that she will be notified before and after work is completed?
This is Jeffrey Goin, and I'll make that motion.
Great, thank you. Do I have a second?
This is Liz, I'll second.
Thank you.
This is Angela Chebesky. The rest of the vote will be done by roll call. Chuck Raymond, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. And Chairwoman Amanda Lansing, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. So the motion carries to issue a negative determination number 3 for 479 Lindell Avenue.
All right, wonderful. Great. Thank you so much for your time, Matt.
Thank you, guys. I don't know how to stop the screen share on this, Angela.
All right, let me see if I can do this. Let's see if I hit this button maybe. I don't know. Hold on. Let's see if I hit this. Matt, I think I have to just dismiss you. I think if it kicks you out of the meeting, I'm really sorry.
That's right. Let me try this red X and see what happened. No, I'm not leaving the meeting. Okay, yeah, go ahead, try it.
All right.
If not, I'll sign back in. Not a big deal.
Okay.
There we go.
All right, there we go. I did kick him out, so I
No worries, technology. All right, our last new hearing on the agenda tonight, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Mass Wetlands Protection Act, Leominster Conservation Commission will hold a public meeting on a request for determination of applicability filed for the extension of an existing paved driveway. Address is 446 Grant Street, map 523, parcel 1. Do we have someone representing this project?
Hi. So the homeowners that apply for this on their own, I did meet with them on site to go over the project. Basically, I'm trying to pull it up here, the plan. They have their driveway and they wanted to extend it just slightly because when they back out of their garage, they don't have much room and they end up driving on the dirt. And especially in the wintertime, it becomes very difficult for them to pull their cars and trucks out of the garage and out of their driveway, especially where they're pulling onto Grant Street. There is a hill coming down from the Sharamar side of Grant Street. So it makes it very difficult to kind of see if someone's coming. So it does become a safety issue. Bear with me, should I pull up the plan here? So it's only about 5 feet out extended from the current driveway they have. They want to, it's not letting me pull it up here. And it's a pretty minor extension of the driveway. Let me see if I can pull it up this way. The image. Per their old order of conditions, they had to leave a 10-foot vegetated buffer zone, which they still will have that 10-foot vegetated area, even with the 5-foot extension off the driveway. I confirmed it by measuring it on the site, as well as their engineer who helped them with their enforcement order from earlier in the year. I discussed it with him as well, and he also said they have plenty of space there. All right, let me see if this works. Well, let me share my screen. Trying to zoom in a little here. So as you can see, the driveway right here, I'm gonna try and draw on it. The current driveway is about right here. And they want to just kind of extend it out just a little so they have a little more room so that when they pull out and turn around, they can safely do so without backing into oncoming traffic on Grant Street. The yard does pitch back, but there is plenty of vegetated cover here. And due to catch basins here, a double catch basin over here, as well as another catch basin over here, and I believe there's also one up the road over here. The water does have sufficient infiltration area. It's not going to create massive sheet flow. So I'd advise them to file just an RDA for this, just so we have something on file, because we don't want someone coming back in 10 years saying that they did this without the approval of the Conservation Commission, as well as due to the proximity of the wetland.
All right, cool. Thank you. Anybody have any concerns or questions? No. Okay. Yeah, I don't have any particular problem with this. I completely understand based on where they are wanting to have a little bit of a of a wider driveway. So if you've been out there and have seen it and measured everything, I'm perfectly comfortable with that. So if we don't have any further discussion or concerns from our commission, do you have a recommendation for us?
Keep trying to unmute myself. Sorry, this is Angela here. Yes, I would recommend that the commission issue a negative determination number 3. The work described in the request is within the buffer zone as defined in the regulations, but will not alter an area subject to protection under the Act. Therefore, said work does not require the filing of a notice of intent, subject to the following conditions. The agent will be notified when work begins and is finished, as well as any site disturbance from any trucks or of any of the paving equipment will be stabilized, and any issues, the agent will be contacted.
Okay, great. In that case, do I have a motion to issue a -3 determination for 446 Grant Street with the conditions that the agent just stated?
This is Liz. I'll make a motion to issue a -3 determination with the comments that the agent just stated.
Great, thank you. Do I have a second?
This is Jeffrey Goin, and I'll second.
Thank you.
This is Angela Chubesky. The rest of the vote will be done by roll call. Chuck Raymond, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. And Chairwoman Amanda Lansing, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. So the motion carries to issue negative determination number 3 with the comments from myself.
All right, so that was our last new hearing of this evening, so we'll move on to some old business. The stormwater ordinance amendments, Angela, I did see that you sent those out. I did not have a chance myself to look at them in depth yet. Did anybody else have a chance to look at these or have any questions about, what it is or comments about what you saw, etc.?
This is Chuck. I glanced at them, but I also did not have a chance to look at them in detail. But I'm making myself a note right now to do just that, if it'll help.
Same. Angela, is this something that needs to be done by a certain time? Something that the commission needs to vote on? What's kind of the procedure there?
So these ordinance amendments were required by our MS4 permit that we applied for through the state. It's something that all communities do have to amend their ordinance if they have one, or if they don't have one, they have to initiate an ordinance with these requirements in there. So these changes, there's nothing for the commission to vote on it, but as the commission does enforce the city's stormwater ordinance, I wanted to make everyone aware of it. And it took me a very long time. There's a lot of legal mumbo jumbo that I had to read. If there's any errors or any concerns that you guys catch, I greatly appreciate any comments or anything you guys think should be added into the stormwater ordinance amendments. Since we're doing it now, you might as well add anything else we want to add in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's quite a lengthy process to have it approved. It has to go through city council as well as the city solicitor and a couple other departments. I've already submitted it through DPW and the health department, and they both have agreed with and support the changes that I made.
So
Okay.
Angela, this is Chuck. Do you need, in order for it to go to the next step, do you need input from us or approval? Is that what you need?
No, unless you guys see something that you'd like to input in there. It's not mandatory. These changes had to be made anyways per the MS4 permit. But I figured since the commission does enforce it, that I would show you guys the amendments that were that I was making, as well as if you guys had any other additional changes, I could add it in.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I think, you know, we'll aim to just so that this can kind of get going. If you have any comments or changes or additions or anything on these, try to get that to Angela, you know, within the next week or two, so that this is another thing that she can check off her list. And that way it's, you know, we can check it off our agenda as well. Moving on to our certificates of compliance. First one up, 35 Day Street, DEP 199-1059. I assume that one is still just going to stay on the agenda a bit longer, Angela?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll keep
Madam
that
Chair,
on.
if I may really quick on that. This is Matt Morrow again.
Sure, Matt.
I just wanted to let you guys know, I am gonna go down there as a favor to the homeowners because I had been working with them on that and rake in some more seed just to give it a boost to make sure that it grows in. I wanted to do that last fall, but when we had that drought, I didn't do that. I'm working on several replication areas across the state and I didn't do any of them like that because with that dry period, it just would have wound up being very expensive bird feed. And I wanted to wait. So I just want to let you guys know that I'll be going out next week and doing those sites and I've got some leftover inventory that I'll use for them just to help it out. I know it'll grow back in, but I want to give it a boost. That's it.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Yeah. Yeah, we'll just keep it on the agenda until such time that, you know, the plant life has really had a chance to grow back in. But that's helpful. Thank you.
Madam Chairman, this is Chuck. May I ask a quick question about that one?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, I drive by that property quite often, back and forth in my daily activities. What was this the place where we're also going to possibly have them plant some large shrubs along the top of the bank there, just to provide some shade for the brook? Is that the same place?
Angela here.
Oh,
No, that was under enforcement's 300 Day Street that you are thinking of.
Oh, different one. Okay, sorry.
Different one, yes. And I am still waiting to go out for a site visit to that one. So.
Okay. All right. I saw Day Street. Okay, I got confused. All right. Thank you.
No worries. I get confused too.
Okay. Moving on, it looks like we have several certificates of compliance to talk about on Sawtell Road. First one up is DEP 199979. That's 110 Sawtell Road. Do we have someone on representing these tonight at all?
Yeah, Madam Chair, it's Matt Morrow again.
Okay. Hi, Matt.
I'm actually here for all three certificates. They're essentially all adjoining lots. Angela wasn't sure whether or not you want to do the screen share again. This is going to be my last issue for you guys tonight. So when you dismiss me again, you can kick me out. No big deal.
All right. Sounds good. Let me share the screen over to you.
Thank you. So essentially what you have is the biggest ticket item on this was the wetland replication area. And I was asked to go out and evaluate it. So I went out and I evaluated it, and what I found was there was an area that was previously disputed as to whether or not it was wetland. So the commission back then had a third-party reviewer look at it. Third-party reviewer said no. He had actually done soils pits with Angela's predecessor, Joanne DiNardo, and former Commissioner Giannakis, and it was clearly evident that it wasn't a wetland area. The soils, however, transitioned rapidly after the development was done, and the two houses on Grant Street that were built by Brian Carlson came into effect, those two houses actually wound up slightly changing some of the hydraulic regime between that and the stone trench that the commission wanted put in, where more water was retained on site. So I went out and I examined the soil in that area, and the soil had quickly converted to a hydric soil, which was cited in the wetland replication evaluation I did. It turned into a very hydric red soil from a yellow soil, very heavily mottled, had a prominent sulfide odor. Then to add to the equation, during periods of high water, where you see the hashed area where it's wetland replication, the water actually backs all the way up to where the flags are, where you see R5, R4. I went out and reflagged those areas where all the water backs up to, and that's pretty abrupt, pretty prominent, and it kind of blends in with the topography of the expanded area. So in essence, the original wetland fill and replication was for, I believe it was 960 square feet of wetland to be filled with 1,100 square feet replicated. And as a result of the change in the regime, there was only 792 square feet filled, and it self-replicated to an area of 1,442 square feet as measured by Whitman and Bingham survey. Flags were survey located, the square footage was measured, and everything was located on the plans. So the conditions you see here are the current as-built conditions for these three single-family homes, 102, 106, and 110 Sawtell. When hydraulic regimes change like this, an area self-replicating is something that, while it doesn't happen every day, I've seen it before. Last time was in Tingsboro, Mass, where you had a beaver dam that changed the regime of a pond. So even after the dam was removed, the pond's change was permanent, and a 1,500 square foot area that was supposed to be replicated did it on its own. So it's nothing that hasn't happened before and probably will happen again in the future, although it doesn't happen every day. So, I mean, that's basically it. The areas that you see, for example, in the middle of the hashtag hash marks, you've got WF 125 that I'm circling. That's the original wetland flagging that was out there. That was where it basically, the wetland flag came up this way. I put it up through the trench, came back down, came back up, and it went right back down in a very sharp following the topo here. It's expanded out here. It's expanded over here. I mean, and that's basically it, guys. Interesting issue. Simple explanation.
Okay, great. Thank you, Matt. I do have a question, and it might be something that Angela could answer as well. But when I was looking through things, it didn't appear that these had a letter with them, the letter that's required to be stamped by the engineer for the COC applications. Is that something that that you have for these? Because technically we should have them before issuing.
Yeah, I thought you guys had it. I actually spoke to Brian Melissy on the phone before he had your hearing here, so I'll have that for you by Thursday.
So yeah, so if we could get that, that would be great. And I think, I don't know, Angela, I know most of the time you're able to get out to, to see these sites before we issue the COCs. Have you had an opportunity to get out to this site yet?
Hi, Angela here. I have not been out there recently. I've been out there quite a few times for other issues, working with the homeowner as well as the contractor and Mr. Morrow. If the commission would like, since I don't believe I think Liz was the only commission member on the commission when this project was approved. I can schedule a site visit if you guys would like to take a look at it all together, or I can just go by myself, whatever is easier for everyone.
If I may, Angela, I just wanted to remind you really quick, one of the times we were out there in the wintertime, the area was essentially full of water. The areas where I have flagged R5, R4, and the one right next to it, and I can't see because my screen cuts out, but that's the area where the water was at its high limits that we had both observed at the time. And if the commission wants to go out there, that's fine, but I just wanted to refresh the memory because I remember on that one because I was surprised at that point. And then I monitored it for a while, hence the reason why there was a lag time. I wanted to make sure it was real, and it was.
Yeah, I believe that's R1, R4, and R5 that runs parallel to 102 Sawtail.
Okay, great. So yeah, Matt, if you don't mind, just in case anyone wants to get out there, and just so that we can ensure that we have those stamped letters from the engineer to accompany the application, we can keep these on the agenda until the next meeting, which is April, what is it, April 27th, and vote on them then. I just wouldn't feel comfortable voting on them until we have those engineer letters that are required.
Okay, and you guys want to see the site, right?
Yeah, well, it'll give us a chance so that if Angela can get out there, or if any of us want to go out there, we have the opportunity to set that up. And it also gives you some time to get those additional documents over to Angela.
Yeah, oh, the document I can get to you in a couple of days. That's not a big deal. He has those ready to go. He just didn't.
Perfect.
For some reason, we didn't get them. But as far as the site walk goes, I wouldn't mind. In fact, I'd prefer it if you guys, if I could accompany you guys when you went out, just in case you had any questions in the field. Can bring my auger, whatever you guys need. I can do it right there on the spot for you. Be more than happy to do that.
Okay, yeah, we can have maybe put an email together and just see who wants to go out, who has time to go out. Even if it's just Angela, just to get some eyes on it. We like to at least have somebody have some eyes on it. So we'll try to set that up over the next 2 weeks as well.
Sure, that sounds great. Thank you very much. I very much appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. We appreciate it too.
All right, guys. Thank you. And
have a great evening.
Have a wonderful night.
We'll talk to you soon.
All righty.
Thank you, Matt. I'm going to dismiss you now. Sorry.
Thank you.
All right.
Very rude to do that.
all of the COCs for applications for Sawtell Road will remain on the agenda until our next meeting on April 27th. The last certificate of compliance, 199-972, 477 Lancaster Street. It doesn't look like any work ever took place. Do we have anybody here for that project tonight, or Angela, are you just fielding this one?
This is Angela. Yes, I'm just fielding it. I did speak with Anthony Cleese from Whitman and Bingham about this project extensively. Due to the age of the project, I'm trying to see, I don't know if it'll share. If it'll let me scroll and share, that'd be nice. The original order conditions was issued quite a while ago. I'm trying to see the exact, I think it was 2013, and no work took place. And so they just sold the property, and we were trying to figure out if they could extend it or if they needed to close it out. So they want to close it out. I did take a quick ride through the site. The proposed work was for this proposed building here. It's a 25,000 square foot building. It is currently not on the site, so obviously the work did not take place. So I would feel comfortable issuing a COC stating that the work did not take place to close out the permit. And I'm trying to I just X out of the permit number. So it was permit DEP file number 199-972 for 477 Lancaster Street.
Okay, great, thank you. So that seems pretty cut and dry to me. So do I have a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for DEP file 199-972, which is 477 Lancaster Street?
This is Liz, and I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
This is Chuck Raymond. I'll second that motion.
Great, thank you.
This is Angela Chepesky. The rest of the vote will be done by roll call. Jeffrey Goyne, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. And Chairwoman Amanda Lansing, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. So the motion carries to issue a certificate of compliance for DEP file number 199972 for 477 Lancaster Street.
Great. Moving on to our extension permits. Has anything changed on these, Angela, or are we still waiting for the state of emergency to be lifted?
As far as I know from this morning, we are still in a state of emergency, so I can't technically issue an extension for any of these yet. The only thing is for the Lake Samoset Treatment Plan, DEP file number 1991009, they expire on April 14th, and they did just contact me so they can start treatment for the lake. They were going to file for an extension, obviously, before the treatment. And I explained to them that they still legally can do the treatment, that they are all set, they're still covered by the regulations, but I just wanted to state it on the record because technically nothing expires until the state of emergency has been lifted.
Gotcha. Okay. Awesome. So I will just read off the ones that we have here on the agenda. We won't do anything with them tonight, obviously, but all of these will remain on until the state of emergency is lifted. 96 Exchange Street, the Lake Samoset Treatment Plant, 1991009, and the Lake Samoset Management Plan, 199414. And could you scroll down for me, please, Angela? Thank you. And the last one is 275 Exchange Street, 199640. It does not appear we have any communications to speak on or meeting minutes to approve, so we will move on to enforcement orders. Several of these are just sort of staying on for now. 9 Penny Lane, we're still waiting for the notice of intent to be filed.
Angela here, actually, they did file the notice of intent. I received it an hour after I made this agenda. I was not going to amend it again. So we did receive it and it'll be on for the next meeting.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Our Hill Street and Elm Street lots 1 and 2 look like we have some updates on those. Maybe.
So that was, I left the update on there because Mr. Hannigan and his client were going to have an update. I'm not sure. They did not submit anything and it doesn't look like they're on the call. So I guess we'll have to continue this to the next meeting. Because I know they were trying to get Chuck Karen out there to reevaluate everything.
Okay. Okay, so we'll leave that on there for now. 6 Daisy Drive. Look, do we have any update on that?
So I have reached out to Ms. Brown, who is the representative for the homeowner, to set up a site visit or a call to discuss, the possible stream movement that may or may not have taken place. I have not received any response yet. I sent that email last week on Thursday. So I'll just keep this on the agenda until I do hear back from them.
Okay. 519 Pleasant Street. Do we have any good updates there?
So I did speak with Mr. Gonzalez, and he also spoke with Denise Child from the Department of Environmental Protection, and she kind of explained to him, he misunderstood exactly what the commission was asking of him. So she explained it to him as well as I explained it to him again. And I explained to him he does need to hire a wetland scientist or an engineer to assist him with this. And I did give him a list of 5 or 7 different local businesses that would be able to help him with that. So he's calling them and getting quotes and should be submitting something within the near future.
Okay, and when was that? Has that been in like the last week or two?
That was beginning of last week.
Okay.
I want to say it was either Monday or Tuesday. Sorry.
Okay. No, that's fine. Like I said, I mean, this has just been on here forever. I just want to make sure that when things are happening, it's not something that, you know, was done last month, you know. But if it was just last week, then that's good. At least there's some movement on it. And the last enforcement on here is 27 Elm Street. What's going on there?
I have not received anything. I did send out an email, and I tried to call and leave a voicemail, but I wasn't able to leave a voicemail to the homeowner to kind of see what was going on. I know he was having just some issues getting a butter notification cards back due to the state Chapter 91 permit, and he's working with them currently. Once he's all set with them, then he can apply for our permit. He did send me everything. He has everything filled out and is waiting basically on this. He has everything ready to go. He's trying his best to meet our deadlines.
That's right. Yeah, you had mentioned that at the last meeting as well. So
yeah, I do know the state is really backed up. I sent them an email 3 weeks ago and still haven't gotten a response. They're just very short-staffed right now.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't have a problem as long as he's, you know, been in communication with you and, you know, has done what he can do. That's all we can ask, right? If he's waiting on something that's out of his control, you know, there's not really much we can do there. So, anyone have any questions on any of those enforcements? Or want any additional updates? Are we good? Okay. So we'll move on to emergency certifications. The Moosonok Brook retaining wall. Looks like some pieces of the wall fell out, which is not good. So what happened there?
So I was contacted by Mr. John Roseberry from the DPW engineering department. He was on a site visit with Mr. Peter Bavenzi, and Peter Bavenzi had pointed out that along the Moosonok Brook retaining wall on downtown Manning Ave side, a little bit downstream from where the original wall collapse happened, a couple of the stones had fallen out, leaving, I would say, is about 2.5 feet to 3 foot gap. So DPW did need to get in there to secure that using mortar as soon as they were able to, and they did do it last week on Thursday. They were able to get in there. I issued an emergency certification for them to get in there and secure the wall, put in some erosion controls. I was supposed to go out there for a site inspection today, but unfortunately the day got away from me. So I'm heading out there tomorrow to take a look and see how the repair went. This is currently, we are trying to fund the entire Moosonok retaining wall repair / daylighting project, possibly through our MVP grant permitting, not MS4, MVP grant permitting process that you guys have been involved with. And this will be, this kind of just shows how serious this is. And, with the increase in rain and snow melt, the velocity of the Moosonok Brook is picking up, and it can, even on site, you can see that's been undermining the Jersey barriers that were put in there in 2017 for the original emergency certification. So if anything, this will really help our, unfortunately, it's very unfortunate and we're able to secure it, but it will help our permitting process and hopefully light a fire under everyone to get this done quickly.
All right, cool. So do we still need to vote to ratify it?
Correct.
Okay. So do I have a vote to ratify the emergency certification that was issued to repair the parts of the Moosonok Brook retaining wall that had come down?
This is Jeffrey Goin. I'll make that motion.
Great, thank you. Do I have a second?
This is Liz, I'll second.
This is Angela Trubesky. The rest of the vote will be done by roll call. Chuck Raymond, how do you vote?
I vote aye. I vote aye.
Oh, Thank you. And Chairwoman Amanda Lansing, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. So the motion carries to ratify the emergency certification for the Moosonok Brook retaining wall repairs.
Awesome. No budgetary items to discuss. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, April 27th. The deadline was this past Friday, April 9th at noon. Before we close out, anything that anyone else would like to bring up that we haven't talked about? Okay. In that case, do I have a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting?
So moved.
This is.
Sorry.
Okay. So I got checked, so do I have a second?
I'll second.
Great, thanks.
This is Angela Chebesky. The rest of the vote will be done by roll call. Jeffrey Goyne, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. And Chairwoman Amanda Lansing, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. So the motion carries to end the City of Leominster Conservation Commission meeting on April 13th, 2020 at 8:03 p.m.